Unleashing the power of your pets. Power. Talk radio with bites. Here, Pet Life Radio, the #1 pet radio network. Let's talk pets.
Okay. And welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you happen to be here in Los Angeles. It is a beautiful morning so far, and at 9 a.m. So for those of you back east, noontime. Hopefully you are enjoying a nice, relaxing Sunday, pre-Thanksgiving Sunday. We're going to talk about Thanksgiving in a little bit. Just wanted to let you know that we're here for you. I'm Dr. Jeff Werber, your host for the next 30 minutes here on Pet Life Radio's Ask the Vets with Dr. Jeff. And that means you can call and actually ask questions. 877-385-8882 is the number. Once again, 877-385-8882. And we're want to talk about anything pets. I mean, look, I know from the client calls that I get that you guys have questions out there. And 10 veterinarians in a room and you'll get 12 different opinions. So, it's something that we can kind of help you sift through, and we want to hear from you. We want to talk to you. Actually, I like the idea of talking better than having you text me or even call me on the phone. So here's the best solution for that. You go online to PetLifeRadio.com. You click on Ask the Vets with Dr. Jeff under shows, and you will scroll down and you will see a box. And in that box is going to be a Google Hangouts link. Click on the link and you will get here with me live, and we can talk. We can see a picture of we can see your pet. Have your pet on your lap, unless he's a 120-pound dog. In fact, just the other day we had a Newfie come in, 145 pounds. He was magnificent. Probably about 5 pounds of the Newfie were drool, which happened to end up all over me. But he was the sweetest dog, a big black one, and I'm talking big. His head was he was huge. So, but Newfoundlands are really, really sweet dogs. So it was so nice. So if you have a Newfie or any large breed like that, you don't put them on your lap. You're excused, but have them sit next to you and come and join us here live on Pet Life Radio. Ask the Vets with Dr. Jeff. So, as those of you know who listen to my show, I do like to go through news because there's some things that happen that in different parts of the country that we can learn from, number one. And number two, that you don't always have access to these kinds of sites. The site that you have access to is, let's call him Dr. Google. I have my issues with Dr. Google. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, there was a blurb that came out in the American Veterinary Medical Association that Dr. Google isn't such a great doctor. And I have to agree. I think, anytime you go into the internet for anything, or even if you listen to news sometimes, what sells is sensationalism. So when these stories are sensationalized, they seem to garner and gather more interest. And that is a problem, because most of the kinds of things that we deal with do not need to be sensationalized. They don't deserve it. And they're much easier than most of us think at the onset. And unfortunately, when you go on to these websites and you put in a symptom, let's say vomiting and diarrhea, or let's go bloody stool, bloody diarrhea. Now, most of the times, believe it or not, bloody diarrhea is not a problem. It's a colitis. It can be due to many different things. Typically, a dog with bloody stool is still happy. And again, if it's a young puppy, and he's got bloody squirts and it stinks and he's weak and lethargic, then yes, of course, we're going to have to think about parvovirus. But most of the times, your adult dogs have a soft stool with some blood and mucus. It's not a tremendous problem. Very easy fix. And yet, if you go on to Dr. Google, but the next thing you know, your dog has intestinal cancer and is going to die in 3 weeks. I mean, it's ridiculous. So anyway, we did talk about this a couple of weeks back, but I want to mention it again because it did hit the news, and that's called FISS, feline injection site sarcoma. And cats have a very bizarre way of sometimes responding to an injection. It doesn't even have to be a vaccine, but oftentimes it does come from a vaccine. And that is they can get a mass, a tumor at the site of this injection. And so, for one thing, since we know it is something that happens, but how often does it happen? About 1 in 10,000 injections. So what we want to make sure that you don't avoid vaccines for fear of your cat being the 1 in 10,000, because the risk in cats that get the diseases we're vaccinating against is way greater than 1 in 10,000. So we definitely still need to vaccinate. So one of the recommendations that we all have now, and when you talk to a client about this, and I'm going to talk to you about it, yes, it's kind of freaky when you think about it, but just in case your cat is that 1 in 10,000, where we give the injections now are in the extremities. And instead of in the trunk where we used to, everything is in the thigh and the leg, even in the shoulder and the front. The reason for that is simple, is that heaven forbid, if your cat is that 1 in 10,000, then by giving it there, if it does develop a sarcoma, these sarcomas are not aggressive from a metastatic potential. They do not typically spread. They are very localized. So by giving a cat a shot in the thigh, heaven forbid, but if it does happen to develop this FISS, this feline injection site sarcoma, we can then go ahead and amputate the leg and save your cat's life. We did a surgery a couple of weeks ago on one such cat, had a huge FISS, and this cat is doing amazingly well. Now, does it bother us when we think of a 3-legged pet? It does. But guess what? It doesn't bother your cat one bit. They do just fine. They're running around. They're happy. So, that is the precaution. The precaution to say, well, I'm afraid of the feline injection sites, so I'm not going to vaccinate my cat. That is not smart. That is definitely not smart. So do the vaccine, have your veterinarian, do it in the thigh, do it someplace else. And if it happens to be one of those unlucky 1 in 10,000, we still can save his life. Now, there is a story and a rising cases of tick-borne diseases. Now, this is coming from the CDC. So this is not just diseases for our pets. These are diseases for us as well, because many of the diseases, when we get ticks or when our pets get ticks and then we get bitten by the tick, there are a number of diseases that are transmitted via tick bites. In 2017, there were, check this out, 59,349 cases of tick-borne diseases in people reported to the CDC, and compared to 48,610. This may be both combined people and pets, but whatever. That's a tremendous, from 48.6 to 59. That's a huge jump. So anyway, just keep in mind tick control. Make sure that your pets, if they are subject to ticks. Oh, one thing just to remember is that a lot of us, and even here in Southern California, we get a little lazy when it comes to we don't typically here in Los Angeles, for example, have a huge flea load during our winter. I know you're going to get your violins out and feel sorry for us because of our winters. It gets down to 70 degrees. Wow. But we know that we're pretty lucky out here. But I will tell you that in many parts of the country, including out here, ticks thrive in the cooler weather. So don't think just because it's cold and freezing, you could stop your flea control, because most of our flea control medications are flea and tick. And of course, we don't want to stop them because we want to make sure to keep these ticks under control. And when we hear statistics from the CDC of the rise in tick-borne diseases, even more so, do we want to make sure we continue our flea and tick prevention all year round. And also some warnings about cold temperatures in certain parts of Tennessee. Their temperatures have been dropping below freezing. And if it's happening in Tennessee, it's going to be happening in a lot of places. The Northeast already is complaining of a lot of cold weather. Colorado, Utah, getting a lot of snow already. So, which is good for me because I'm heading to Utah in a couple of weeks for a little snowboarding. But anyway, you want to make sure that we take the necessary precautions. Dogs, animals left outside need to have some area of warm shelter. If they are small breeds of dogs, or very short-coated breeds, you got to keep them warm. They lose a lot of their body temperature to the environment. And interestingly, when it comes to the smaller breeds, even more so, because it's all about body mass and not necessarily weight. So the ratio of mass to weight in small breeds is much greater, and therefore they have more of a body mass to lose that temperature to. So we call it that. That's why, for example, I don't know if you ever had dogs that have been treated for cancer, but when we treat dogs for cancer, we use a range, a measurement called meters squared, and not body weight. So it's much more accurate way to measure mass. So anyway, keep that in mind. If it's getting too cold out there, don't leave your pets outside all during the day unless they have some sort of shelter. They still have to have water. Make sure the water doesn't freeze over. And better yet, keep them indoors as much as you can. This was a cute story. So we know that raccoons can harbor rabies. And in West Virginia, there was a story that came out that these two raccoons were noted, and they were acting like very neurologic. They were for sure. It was thought that these raccoons were rabid. They're being very careful, and so it turns out that they didn't have rabies. No, these raccoons were drunk. They were intoxicated. Why? And this happens. They were eating wild, like those crab apples, and the crab apples were rotting and were fermenting. And of course, a byproduct of fermentation is alcohol. So they were getting drunk on fermented crab apples. So make sure, don't let your fruit get rotting and start to ferment, and don't feed it to your dogs. Or for you to never either. So turns out they waited a couple of days. They just kind of kept them in a quarantine, and a few days the symptoms wore off, and they were released back into the wild. Another one good story that we love, and we know about this. We've talked about this before. It used to be that it was all about the animals, that we're going to do all this testing, and from animals, it's going to go to people. Now there's so much there's so much work in the area of comparative oncology, that is the study of cancer, coming from the veterinary world and the human side, and the data is being shared, and we're finding out that there is so much that we can learn from each other when it comes to treatment. And I mean, case in point is going to be, cancer too. They may have tested this stuff on laboratory mice, but when it comes to the efficacies, we did not treat the animals for cancer as years and years and years ago as we do today. And we got a lot of our learning, a lot of our education, a lot of our practice skills from the human side. So in that case, and now there's a lot of work done. In fact, one of my mentors in school, when I was at UC Davis, so she basically, after she did a residency first in internal medicine, Barb Kitchell, and then she went to did her oncology residency. So they're both through internal medicine. So she's double boarded in medical oncology in internal medicine. And then just to top it off, as if that wasn't enough, she went on to Stanford for a PhD in comparative oncology. So it is really, so much of what we're learning now is coming from a comparative aspect. And, one of the things I remember asking her after I saw her, after she finished her PhD was so what did you learn? What's the most important thing? She goes, what I learned the most about cancer is how little we really know about it. And it turns like the thing of the future is going to be, working with genes, immunotherapy, things like that, inducing the body to start taking care of its own cancer. Because as we know, if you have any loved ones that have been through cancer treatment, it takes its toll on the body. If you've had pets before that have been treated, it also takes its toll. Not as much, interestingly, because we treat dogs and cats a little bit differently when it comes to cancer than the human side, because we know their lifespans are much shorter anyway. So we kind of ease back a little bit. This was cute. A 78-year-old man was working his yard, and a black bear came up. This was in North Carolina. A black bear came up, and he was trying to chase it away. The bear was biting him. He was punching this bear on the nose, cat biting him is, he's yelling for help. His wife and 3-pound Yorkie run outside, and who scares the bear away? Not the 6-foot guy, right? Not the wife. No, it was the 3-pound Yorkie yapping and barking, finally scared the bear away. So that's cute. So be careful. I mean, wouldn't it be so great if it would work right for like intruders, that you just sick your little Chihuahua, sick your little Yorkie on the guy? But anyway, that's funny. And one last thing, we've talked about this before we go on a break, and that is this. We're going to come back. Of course, we're going to talk about some Thanksgiving warnings coming up this Thursday. So we want you to take care of your pet's teeth at home. We want you to brush their teeth. We wish you would do it more often. I tell people, my clients, if you do it 2 to 3 times a week, I'll be thrilled. If I tell myself, if I do it 2 to 3 times a week, I'll be thrilled with me. Now we know it's hard, especially when you have 10 pets around the house. But I will tell you this: do not use regular toothpaste for a number of reasons. Number one, the fluoride content is too high for our pets. Number two, they don't always necessarily like the taste, but sometimes they do. But they don't like the foaming, the sudsing. So, and that's what happens. The toothpaste that are specifically manufactured for pets is what we say it's non-sudsing. It doesn't foam up. It's either, it could be fish flavored, shrimp flavor, poultry flavor. I mean, there's beef flavor. There's so many different flavors out there, but it doesn't have the same fluoride content. So when you are looking, when you're going to be so conscientious and you're going to start to brush your pet's teeth on a regular basis, which is great, make sure you get a pet dentifrice, a pet toothpaste. Don't use your stuff at home. All right, don't go away. When we come back after the short break, we're going to talk about Thanksgiving safety. Be right back.
We'll be right back, right after these messages. Stay tuned.
What if you could protect the life of your cat with something so simple and affordable that you already use every day? Get ready for the evolution of kitty litter. It's Pretty Litter. Along with all the features you've come to expect from your kitty litter, Pretty Litter's patented and scientific formula will also monitor your cat's health and detect illnesses early while providing industry-leading odor control. 2 kitty litters, same cat, same price. But there's one important difference. Pretty Litter reacts to your cat's waste by detecting health issues simply by changing color. And the key is that Pretty Litter detects these issues before your cat shows symptoms of physical illness or pain, likely saving you major dollars in vet bills while protecting the health of your cat. What do you think, little guy? Ready to switch litter? Pretty Litter. Colorful insight into your cat's health.
Go to prettylittercats.com/cat101 or use coupon code CAT101 to get 20% off your first subscription order.
Put on a perfectly possum pet party. Having an awesome birthday or adoption day celebration for your 4-legged friend, or just want a fun excuse to throw a fun party with your friends from the dog park. Deck out your party with Molly and Bandit Pet Party accessories.
Nice.
Party products designed specifically for pets.
Oh,
There
that'll
are
pay.
wearables, including adjustable pet party hats, bow ties, and tutus.
Yeah.
The photo prop kits include funny glasses and hats. The party supplies and decorations include coordinating table covers, party banners.
I
big
thought
decorations,
Thanksgiving
and
was going to be
tables,
like around
cups,
3.
and bags. Everything you need to create great memories and Instagram-worthy photos. They're available in 2 colorful themes: tropical and
Well,
fire
Rona
red.
has
It's
to
Celebrate with
Rona has to
at
work the
Molly
next
and
day,
Bandit
so
Pet
she doesn't
Party
want to be out late.
.com/petlife.
As a gift for her husband, Dana Gibson went to paintyourlife.com to have a portrait hand-painted of her beloved dog.
Okay.
The reaction to this fine painting that I got from Dana was extraordinary.
Where the hell am I going to get that? I'm going to get pumpkin pie. It's Thanksgiving.
My beloved dog that I've had for years in such a lifelike picture.
Okay.
This Christmas season, give someone you love an original painting done by hand from
I'm going to bring pumpkin pie. It's
a
Thanksgiving.
special person, your children, even a cherished pet, and a painting done by
Yeah,
hand
it's
by a
Thanksgiving.
world-class artist at paintyourlife.com. Customer David Lax surprised his wife with an unforgettable.
All right. Well, we'll get strawberry cheesecake and pumpkin pie.
The gift was incredibly meaningful, from my dress to the suit to the landscape and the colors. It so closely matched the photos from our wedding day.
Don't wait, because right now get 30% off your painting plus free shipping. Just the word life to 84848. Order now to guarantee delivery for the holidays.
Okay.
Text life to 484848. That's life to 484848.
Does your
And-
dog itch, scratch,
And
stink,
that's
or
all.
shove like crazy?
I have my live show now,
Order
so
a
I'm doing
90-day
that.
supply of Dynavite.
Dynavite for life. Pick up 2 tubes of Dogosud.
Get the
Goodbye.
third tube free.
Peppermint, tea tree, lavender, Dogosud shampoo.
Made with all natural coconut, jojoba, aloe, great for healthy skin and soft, shiny coats.
But no itchy, harsh chemicals.
Lather up, rinse away
Try Dogosuds. Buy 2, get 1 free.
at Dynavite.com.
DINOVITE.com.
Let's connect socially. Join the Pet Life Radio community to get the latest pet news, updates, and reviews. Connect with our show hosts and pet lovers socially on our Facebook and Twitter pages. You're just one click away. Find us at PetLifeRadio.com.
Begging to hear more of your favorite show? Full episodes of all our shows are available on demand. Go to PetLifeRadio.com to fetch our entire lineup of Possum Pet podcasts. Also, dig us up in iHeartRadio and iTunes. Let's talk pets. Live and on demand, only from Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Let's talk pets.
On Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Okay.
And welcome back. You're here live with Dr. Jeff Werber. And if you want, I want to hear from you, 877-385-8882. Come join us on Pet Life Radio on the Google Hangout link. But one of the things I wanted to just talk about is this Thursday's Thanksgiving. Early this year. Doesn't seem early. The 22nd is pretty early. And it turns out it happens to be the 4th Thursday of November. And that's when Thanksgiving falls out, the 4th Thursday of November. Anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about the concerns that some of us have about Thanksgiving. Of course, we want to avoid fatty foods. So that's going to be some of the fixins, fat from meat, dark meat turkey, this turkey skin. These are all things that are high in fat content and can cause something called pancreatitis. Of course, we want to avoid things like onions, especially raw onions and garlic, raisins, grapes. We know there's nuts. Again, nuts also because of the fat content. And raisins and grapes because some dogs could be extremely toxic. We don't know which ones they are. We don't know how to test for it yet. So therefore, the general rule of thumb is just keep them all away from it. We can have some issues with some of the raisins and grapes. Chocolate, of course, we have to avoid. The darker the chocolate, the more toxic. Very simple. And they'd have to eat pretty much a lot of it, especially the chocolate and baked goods. They'd have to chow down a lot, but still, we want to be very careful. Xylitol, if anyone's trying to make some, watching their own waistline, so they're creating some sugar-free desserts, they may be using xylitol as the artificial sweetener. Xylitol, very, very toxic to dogs. We have to be very careful. And of course, as always, we're in newer times. There are some other baked goods that some people might elect to serve to their guests to keep them somewhat happy on this very joyous holiday. We have to be very careful because they may eat a cookie or a brownie. That dog sees that plate, they're all going. So again, we want to be very careful about things like that. Now, when it comes to the garbages, make sure you cover your trash well. We don't think about that. We're being so conscientious, we're throwing everything away. Meanwhile, the dog gets into the garbage, and with that, the carcass, the bones. Look, poultry bones, as we know, are somewhat dangerous because when they're not poisonous, but they actually cause a lot of irritation. And when they chew them, they splinter very easily, leaving sharp edges, and those sharp edges can cause damage. The esophagus going down the pipe, from the mouth into the stomach would be the worst because that's a very difficult one to fix. And of course, things like, anywhere in the GI tract. As a matter of fact, because of that, even if we know that a dog got a hold of soft bones, chicken bones, poultry bones, turkey bones, we do not induce vomiting. Why? Because once it's already in the stomach, at least it's better off. If we make them vomit and the stuff has to come back up and then go through once again through the esophagus, we might actually cause more damage than not. So, of course, the best thing to do, of course, is just simply eliminate the threat. So cover the trash. That's important. decorative plants, the amaryllis, lilies, sago palm. There are a lot of things out there that are very toxic. Even some ferns, believe it or not, have some toxicity. Here in California, we know. So yeah, we want to be very careful about that as well. And there is a lot of activity Halloween. So if you have animals that are pretty good normally, but all of a sudden they're getting bombarded with new people coming in the house and noise, and you just don't know how they're going to react. And we want to make sure that all the doors are secure. If you're going to leave them outside, the gates are secure, because it's times like this that dogs seem to want to bolt. So of course, the common sense things, make sure that they have their identification tags on them. That's very important. Make sure that they're microchipped. That's even as important, or maybe sometimes more important, because you can't lose a microchip. You can lose your ID tag. So just it's all about preparation. It's all about planning. So you want to plan for those incidences that are more potentially dangerous or damaging. So again, that is so as the guests are coming over, it's great, and make sure you just it's not rude to tell your guests, you know what, my dog will love to eat everything on the table. Keep the food on the table, not on the floor. So as the dogs come over and beg, our guests have a tendency, I have a tendency, if I'm going to do it, of course, people that don't know any better are going to do it. And that is, don't feed the dogs from the table. But when they look at you, those sad eyes, and there's something they really like, then it's a piece of white breast, white meat turkey, and it doesn't have fat. You take the skin off, come on. What? How much can a little piece of turkey hurt? And the truth is probably not, but you're teaching your dog the bad behavior. And then we're reinforcing, of course, we're going to reinforce the begging. So it's better if you want to give them leftover, and there are many appropriate leftovers that you can give, and make sure that you do it the right way, and that is fill up their own bowls, let them eat in their bowl, in the kitchen, or wherever you feed them, but don't let them eat from the table. And Thanksgiving it's a quick, short weekend. Some people go away most, but when it comes to the holidays coming up, we're going to really have talking a lot about travel, boarding over the holidays, taking your pets with you over the holidays, precautions to take, what you need to know. So we'll get to that when we talk more about traveling with pets, and that's going to come up in the next couple of weeks. So anyway, have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy the festivities, enjoy the food, get something good for your dog that they can eat. Like, I don't know, there's so many great safe treats out there for them. As I mentioned before, the pepperonis that my dogs really like. So give them things that they're going to be happy with. They don't feel left out. You don't want them to feel left out. You don't want them to resent the fact that all these people are over. They're not getting any attention. So you want to give them attention as well. So make it fun, keep it safe, and indulge only to a point, but to make sure your pets are under control. And anyway, so have a great Thanksgiving. We will, I think, be here next week. I don't know what people travel over the weekend. We may not, but I'm here. So that's a count. So hopefully we will be here next week, next Sunday, noon in the East, 9 a.m. out here in the West. And of course, everything in between, depending on where you live. Have a great week, everybody. A great Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next week.